Hiya, it's Xavier. Welcome to my bonsai retreat. It is barely the 27th of January. We are just getting through the first month of winter. And do you know what? I've got loads of stuff to do. Not only am I going to enjoy the sun, which is beaming in on my face, again causing our buds for premature swelling or things like that, but there's lots of other stuff to get done. So, before we get into the meat of this video, let me remind you about the 5 things that need to be in your mind right now. Well, here I am, sun beaming down on me, nearly in a tank top and shorts.
Oh, please don't do that.
No, fear not, you won't see that sight. But actually, the first thing that you should be aware that's happening right now is your trees should definitely be in their winter dormancy. All the roots should be tucked up, knowing that we've got at least another 4 weeks of cold. Are you joking me? Are you joking me? And secondly, so long as temperatures haven't been dipping below 5 degrees, which in the UK is pretty well unheard of, then ground cover is fine. Got them all teamed up down here, and they're on the ground, so the chances of root damage is pretty minimal. The only ones you normally need to watch are the trident maples, but apart from that, in this country, this is fine for protection. But in case you're worried about anything big, which is the wind chill, make sure you've got something like a fence or a structure that's going to keep that wind chill off. That is going to protect the ramified branches at the end. And the other thing to remember, if you've got something where you've got this premature bud swelling, then, like on this forsythia, you don't want the buds to be killed off or the flowers to be killed off. So this is where the cold frame is absolutely ideal. So I'm going to shove it in there, so to speak. And of course, there is one thing we must always remember to do, and let's not lose track of what's going on in the cold frame or the greenhouse. Because believe it or not, these trees actually still do need water. Not loads of water. And the other thing to watch out for is trees that you've got protected underneath benches. I've noticed a couple back there, the dawn redwoods, that they miss the rain. So miss the rain, they miss water, and they die. And while we're in the greenhouse, you can't help but notice on those azaleas, the buds are all starting to form. Absolutely going to be magnificent. And also noticed on the olives, got a nice bit of growth coming on those already as well. So looking good for spring. Notice this, all the Chinese elm which has been ground planted. This came from a cutting, by the way, losing all the top leaves, but that'll be fine. Going to do some major work on that in the spring, but that's a spoiler for later. But hey, you've seen the 5 things you want to be remembering right now, end of January, but do you want to hear about one of my biggest fears, the #1 fear that we face as we draw through the winter months towards spring?
Not really.
Now, tell you what, why don't I tell you that later? Okay, so we've made sure our trees are watered, everything's in the right place. We're happy that it's going to be all right for the colder weather. And I know we've got some snow apparently on the way in the next week or so. Believe that when I see it. But believe it or not, there's 10 more things I want to talk to you about that we really want to be getting on between end of January and certainly to the 3rd week in February. So let's crack on and talk about them, shall we? Right, well, the first of the big things you can definitely be doing now over the next 3 or 4 weeks is your deadwood, your gin, your shari. So you need that, you need your Dremel out, obviously you need your big Makita die grinder. Set them up and find those bits of deadwood that you still want to be sorting out. So let's go over and find that lovely bit of wood that Andy sent me for part of his Tanuki challenge. I think I'm the last one to actually get started on it, but that's an ideal job for winter. And it's not also forming your Tanukis and doing your carving, but as you know, this old gonzo catastrophe with my Chinese elm, I need to just check whether or not it's hardened off properly, because again, the other thing we want to watch out for, and we can deal with it now, is issues with rotting. So that wood preserver, all that sort of stuff, so long as it's a dry and probably not windy day, then I'd be getting some wood preserver or hardener onto stuff like this. You want to know what's going to happen to this? You have to wait a few more months. I'm not sure the beak is going to be there. Anyway, who thinks that beak matches that beak? Answers in the comments. So we've pretty well sorted out our deadwood stuff, but the other thing we can do is our pines. Now, I got all these done in autumn, but this is another time when you can basically go through and remove all the old dead needles. By the way, this is the tree that Kenneth and I have been working on in a collaboration. Haven't seen much of it last year, but there's been a lot of growth, a lot of strengthening, so we're going to see this in a future project. But yeah, getting back to that, so we've got the browning dead leaves. We can remove all those now, and hopefully what we're looking to do is get more light into the actual structure itself, and we're trying really to encourage dormant buds as well, and just all that sort of stuff. So you can do that now. You know, sometimes this sort of time when you actually get sun, it's quite relaxing to do it. You could also wire your tree and stuff like that, but I'll tend to do this sort of styling a little bit later in the year. The other thing you can do is, if you haven't actually pruned off your terminal buds, so you've got a great big clump, you can actually do that now as well. Just leave 2 buds, and again that'll just allow direction and the spring spurt to just go in 2 places rather than creating a big knotty wall and have 3 or 4 going. But as I say, this is the sort of work I tend to do in the autumn. Now the third thing, obviously, you all know that I've got the Sponsor a Bench project going on, and I've got to get this whole area cleared and ready because I've got posts to buy, I've got the staging and the framing that I need to actually sort out for these posts, and the posts are going to be sunk into the ground and I'm going to use cement. But all these branches that came down last year, these all need to be cut up and taken to the tip. And we love this. So, winter, when it's not raining and it's not too cold, ideal. This is when you start clearing up the junk and the rubbish that's been accruing in areas that you need to clean up. Oh, I feel busy and puffed out just filming all these scenes. But number 4 on my task of things to do over the next few weeks is, believe it or not, create the structures that I need for some roots on rock. Now, I bought about 20 boxes of fireplace lava rock a good few years ago at 70, I think it was 70% off when one of the big trading stores was closing down. Well, based on something that Andy of Bonsai Crazy was doing with epoxy or 2-part glue, I bought a load of tubes of it, and in a minute you're going to see me sticking some of these together to create some interesting structures that I can use for roots on rock with my Trident maple and Chinese elm. But that's not all, because I've got a few shallow pots, and I tend not to use these, to be fair, because I haven't got trees that the root structure's developed enough and the tree's developed enough that I could get away with putting it in such a shallow pot. So the only option I would have there is to put loads of saplings and grow a forest. Well, I want to do something different. So not only am I going to be making some roots on rock, I want to create a lava rock structure all around and have them all glued together so that you can actually lift it out and then place it back in for a planting that I've got in mind later in spring. But more of that in a future episode. So if you haven't subscribed yet and you want to see exactly what's going to happen with this, you need to subscribe. And if you want to know when it happens, well, that's the sound we want to hear. That tells us it's nearly summer. And if you want to know when this actually happens, well, obviously you need to hit bell notifications, which is the old ding ding. So that's all the rocks and the gluing that I'm going to do. It goes without saying. Got wire to make straight again. It always seems to get harder as these get smaller and this gets smaller. Hey, by the way, if you're liking what you're seeing, hit like as well. That's the big thumbs up. Now, number 6 on the list is all about my bonsai app. And for those of you who haven't seen the website yet or seen the various videos, you know that I've got a Microsoft Access database come workflow system that I think around about 20 or so people are now using around the world. And they haven't complained to me yet. I've been using it for 5 or 6 years. And again, big thanks to my daughter Alex, who's designed it all. That's something else that we need to be doing now. For those of you who've got it, and those of you who want it, then go onto my website, and there's a little section down the bottom of the opening page where there's a push button, and that'll allow you to go to the request for an app. It's free, unless you want to donate, but yeah, it's free. But what I do need to do on that is, one, make sure everything's been updated. To be fair, because of YouTube, there's loads of trees that I've still got to get put on the system, reminders put on there, get all the repots, new pictures up to date. But the biggest thing I've got to do is go to the bring up section and print off my task list for February and for March. And obviously that's going to be concerning all my repots. But, you know, that has saved me so many times in making sure I don't forget or miss trees. So, yeah, if you've got your bonsai app, then make sure, one, it's up to date, and two, that you've already printed off your task lists, probably February, March and April, so you can think ahead. Which, of course, is the title of this little video. Number 7 on the list is, again, something I mentioned in the earlier think ahead, soils. You'll see around me I've got 29 bags of either pumice, zeolite. I've got all sorts of stuff here, and that's courtesy of the order that Alex put in last year. So I've got 29 bags and he's got 29 bags, but they're everywhere at the moment. Haven't managed to put them anywhere. I've got to be starting to think about mixing them up into the requirements that I want for the repots. But I also need to be looking at my wire spools, and I know that I need some 2.5mm wire. And I also need to be thinking about what pots I'm going to need. And the reason why I'm talking about pots is because a lot of these, they're 7 or 8 year old Japanese maples that have been, to be fair, stunted by putting them in bonsai pots too early. You can tell we're back in sunshine because there's the drill man again.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
Yeah, because I think one of the biggest mistakes many of us make when we start this hobby is taking our lovely saplings and trying to ram them into bonsai pots as soon as we possibly can. Hey, I made the same mistake and I continue to do so now. But as you know, last year I started putting a lot of them into pond baskets. Lovely root growth. And I now need to do another 30 or 40 of mixed species, certainly the maples. They too need to go into pond baskets. So I'll go buy some more pond baskets. The only biggest advice I can give you is don't be too eager to get them into bonsai pots. Develop the tree first if you can. Now, the 8th of the tasks that I was going to talk about is the bonsai pots. And those of you who watched my previous Think Ahead episode will know that I said this should have been done in autumn. And I think I also said that every year I get forgotten. Well, here it is. It's a sunny day. It's barely above freezing. And I thought this was an appropriate time to get some water out, start cleaning this lovely Dawn Isaac ceramic, which did have a Fuji cherry in it. But that's gone back into development. So, you know, these things have to be done. The number 9 I'm going to bring up is the one that really we all get caught up in. And it's the one I probably should have got sorted out last year. But that's where you actually go around your trees, establish which ones are your priority repots and which ones are going to be your priority development trees. Because it's amazing, certainly with me, when you've got quite a lot of trees, and as you know, I've got well over 700 in various states, certainly not all bonsai, that's for sure. But I think if you ask many people who've watched my channel, they'll say very few are bonsai.
Finally, people are going to know some truths.
But, you know, things like this, my Japanese larch, these have been growing as saplings since 2002. And to be fair, this arrangement does nothing for me and does nothing for the tree. And what I'm hoping to do is to put together a larch planting that has 18, 19 trees in it. And who knows, if I'm really lucky, we may even get a special guest. That's another good reason for hitting notifications and being subscribed. You don't want to miss a true bonsai master because he's now qualified. In fact, I think he does teaching now. He's got a little school or he does classes. Great guy. Now, as well as a lot of the project trees that you've already seen, I've got silver birch, I've got loads of things that we've really got to be getting to do. I've finally got to have a look at this oak, and my decision was whether to continue to try and wire it down perhaps, create something, or as was suggested by someone, to actually take an air layer higher up on this. Now, I'm a bit adverse to doing an air layer on an oak simply because everything I read says they're a bit hit and miss, and I get a lot of people who have failures with them, or they take a very, very long time to produce roots. I mean, this is a great big long thing. I'm thinking I could go literati with it, or air layer. You tell me what you reckon. Very hard to get an idea of it, but you've seen it in several videos. This is another tree which hasn't featured. It's a Yamadori hornbeam that I dug up from Azalea Nurseries back in 2018, 2019, I believe. Haven't touched it, it's only just gone into this big pot 2 years ago. We're going to have a look at this, I think, this year. And number 10 on that list of things to do, and probably the final one, before I tell you the biggest fear I have, apart from spiders and snakes, is keep an eye on your trees for watering. As I say, the greenhouse, I can go weeks and weeks and forget it, and suddenly realise there's 2 or 3 trees that are hidden away that need water. You've got to keep on top of things like that, even if it is cold. If you look down here, this Dawn Redwood, looking very healthy, but the soil, very, very dry. And, of course, it was fine while these great big bags of Macadam or zeolite weren't there, but, of course, what I've forgotten is that they're stopping water getting to these. So these haven't been watered in weeks, so I'd best go and do that, and that's my number 10. So, what is my biggest fear? Well, I'm glad you asked. My biggest fear is always, every time, just after we get the repots going on, we get the tridents out, they're starting to leaf out, and right at the end of winter or right in the beginning of spring, we suddenly get that unexpected, expected late frost, which lasts for about 10 days. Temperatures plummet below zero, and it kills all the fresh leaves that have come and budded out, certainly on tridents. Be prepared for it. It happens every year in the UK. So if you've got somewhere that you can keep stuff safe, and this frost happens before they harden off, then certainly I'm going to have room in my greenhouse or cold frame so that I can try and protect them. But do you know what I mean? Sometimes there's not a lot you can do. And then, of course, we've got to the 20th of February or thereabouts, and we've got the big 3. We've got the bonsai shuffle when we're trying to move stuff out of the cold frame or get them up off the ground and looking to get them in a position where we can do the repots on them. Then we've decided that we've got a major amount of repot mayhem where there's soil and roots and pots flying everywhere. And also, it's a great time, right at the end of winter, to do some quite big hard pruning, structural pruning, even refinement pruning, before those buds have opened up. But certainly we've reached a point where we're fairly confident that we're not going to get any hard frosts or temperatures below zero. And you all know, I missed doing my tridents last year. I want to do them in autumn. So I'm going to be doing some quite big branch cuts on these. And again, if you like seeing work on tridents, then probably best not to watch me. But yeah, I'll be doing these as well. If you want to know when, apart from notifications, go onto my bonsai website. If you haven't seen it, it's expressionsofgracebonsai.co.uk. There's a link in the description. And I've got a big calendar on there. And on that calendar, I'm going to be putting ahead of schedule all the stuff I'm planning to do at different times of the month. Won't be a lot on it yet, but if you go and have a look on there, you'll see exactly when I'm planning to do stuff. And more importantly, what sort of videos you'd expect to see. A lot of stuff. It's a lot of YouTube stuff that's on there. There's also some old blogs back from 2020. And I'm going to have a lot of fun sections in there, including there's going to be a section entirely devoted to Tony Higginson of Tony's Bonsai, God rest his soul, a whole memorial page that'll be dedicated to him. So there'll be lots that'll be happening on that website. So please, if you haven't subscribed to that, then make sure you do so you can see when I do notices. But for those of you who already watched the video that's shown on those blogs, don't leave it there, because I'm going to be putting lots of extra pictures and extra bits of notes and details that you may find useful that I just didn't manage to get across in the video. So keep that in your bookmark as well. So, from Xavier and his bonsai retreat, hopefully covered everything that you need to know over the next couple of months. I'm going to try and find the forearm of my missing mudman, and I'm going to go inside for a well-deserved drink, some food, and find out what bonsai videos there are on YouTube. Oh, and before you go inside and switch off, one rider, and I want to make this clear. People can sometimes get confused because I might get differing advice, and the biggest one that comes up is when I talk about larches. And with larches, I've always been nervous because I've had some losses. So with me and larch, I tend not to do them in winter, and I know Yellow did an excellent video on that, which I do recommend you watch. Yes, you can do the stuff in winter if you want. I've just found I've had a few results that haven't gone to my liking. So sometimes the advice I'll give is suitable for me and works for me based on the sort of 20 years of me rocking about in the back of the garden. So please don't think I'm saying this is the only way. Anyway, thanks for watching. All the best. Happy bonsai and God bless. Cheers.